So welcome to Straight Talk, where you're going to get the inside scoop on how to do business with different corporations and other stakeholders that are part of the CVMSDC network. So joining me today, I'm LaSonia Berry, your MBIC Chair and President and CEO of McPherson Bear & Associates. We have with us Shakitha Lloyd. She's the Director of Diversity and Inclusion for Mecklenburg Schools. Here you see Shakitha's information in her bio. She's been doing this now for over 17 years, even though she looks like she's straight out of elementary school on that picture on the screen. So I'm not going to go through and read all of her accolades. I've given you the opportunity to see who she is, but more importantly, she's also part of the CVMSDC network. She's also a board member. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Shakitha Lloyd.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for making the time this morning to participate and to listen in on how to do business with Charlotte Mecklenburg School. We have a lot of information to share, but before I begin, I want to thank the Council for the opportunity to be able to share some information with you this afternoon. Some of the expected meeting outcomes you can expect from this is you will learn more about our government procurement requirements that we have, understanding our bid processes and our delivery methods. You'll learn how to register as a vendor with us. You have a better understanding of what our high diversity program is all about. And then we will end with providing you with some keys to success on how to actually not only learn about us, but how to win a contract with us going forward. So let me first start by sharing some fast facts about the district. We have a little over 148,000 students we have the privilege of serving. We oversee 175 different schools. We have a little over 19,000 employees, and our budget is a little over $1.6 billion. But be mindful of that budget. Out of that, a little over only $350 million of that is actual eligible spend that we can count towards our supplier diversity program, given that a lot of that has to do with the salaries and benefits that we provide to our staff members. We do procure a variety of different services and or goods, but the $1.6 billion only speaks to the total budget, not our actual eligible spend that we have available. So we're going to shift now into looking at what our bid process and delivery methods look like. For us, anything that we consider a small order purchase, so we can buy through our procurement cards up to $1,000 with zero competition. So all of our schools and departments have procurement cards, and they buy a lot of miscellaneous small dollar, soft dollar items with that. We do have some limited purchase orders that we can do via check request for supplies and materials that are less than $5,000. But for the most part, it's any school can buy with that P card. And we're not allowed to split any order just to stay below that $1,000 threshold. So just know that if you do have a school or department and you accept a credit card as a form of payment below $1,000, that vehicle is available to them and to you. When it comes to our informal bid opportunities, that's any type of items that we have that are anywhere between $5,000 and or $89,999. That's not on a state term contract, which I'll speak to more what that means. But our requirements district-wide are a little more stringent than what the state of North Carolina requires. For the state, they say anything below $30,000 does not require competition. But back in 2005, we put in measures in place that said no, based on our evaluation of what we procure, where we thought was the natural place for us to require competition to include our diverse suppliers was at the $5,000 level. So from that, we have at least a notification of at least one available minority women or small business owner to be included in that process. So, and then we also, back in 2005, put in place where anything that we buy above $5,000 and is entered into as a requisition has to come through our office for approval. So we actually get to see everything that we buy district-wide and evaluate if it's something that we know that we had a diverse supplier available, that they have to include in their submittal who all they received quotes from. And if they did not include a diverse supplier, we can send it back. We're actually second in line, so the minute the department's admin or their coordinator puts it into the system, we see it, either approve it and send it on its way for it to become a PO, or we can send it back and say, please include A, B, and C vendor in this process before we can allow that procurement to go forward. So that is one which I'm very fortunate to have. For many years, our area reported directly to our Chief Finance Officer. So she is very, very familiar with our program, what we do, and the why behind. And she has final say. So having that as an advocate on behalf of supplier diversity has been very helpful. Even when we have transitioned various superintendents over our district, she reviews and signs all contracts above a certain threshold as well. And she will send them back and ask questions when there's something that she's unsure of. So that has been a true advocate for what we do, whether it be on the informal or formal measure. So on the formal side for us, that's any kind of apparatus, supplies, materials, or equipment. All of those on the goods and services side is done through our procurement services department. And they also are required to notify at least one available diverse vendor when they receive at a minimum 3 quotes per item. They work hand in hand with our department on identifying those that are available. We do have a database that we go through to ensure, as well as I'll speak later on as to where they advertise and how we leverage the state of North Carolina's interactive purchasing system for that solicitation. And if you are looking to the business at the end, I will tell you exactly where to register and know how, and then who all accesses those state opportunities and the number of different school systems or government agencies that actually leverage that system. Contracted service for us. Actually, for us as a K-12, we don't necessarily have to have competitive requirements for that, especially if it's something that's a qualifications-based. So anything less than $5,000, they're free to award. And we allow, we ask that they do look at diverse supplies and rotating out the work, but we do not interfere with the school or department, anything below $5,000. So when it's above that $5,000, there's certain requirements that we do put in play, and it's done on a case-by-case basis. So pretty much every year, each one of our departments develop their procurement plans, and based on we know what they're going to be providing, we work on the front end and let them know who are the available sub-consultants or contracts that are available for that particular area so they can include in their process, and then they can go forward from there. So by the time it gets into our accounting system and it's time to turn that requisition into a purchase order, we can easily approve and move forward because we've already had the conversation on the front end and we know what documentation that has been created to ensure that they are compliant. Most of these come in as via a request for a proposal and or a quote or through an actual invitation to bid to come to us. And at the end of the day, a lot of it is by invitation only based on that specific need that they have, that particular contracted service. Informal construction, same thing required there at that $5,000 level. They have same thing as far as the requiring of 3 quotes and an inclusion of that one available supplier when needed. There's particular good faith efforts they all have to comply with. And again, for this, especially within our operations side of the house, for our building materials, the construction of our schools, design services, commissioning, geotechnical, all of those, we've actually gone through an additional step with they have a procurement checklist where they are required to, even before they put their bid packages together, they come to one of the members of the team to talk about what they're procuring. We let them know who all the available contractors are for that. We actually have to sign off on it before they even put it out. When the actual bids come in and we get ready to award, we review the bid tab to ensure all the documentation that's required to come in is compliant. For us, you have to award to the lowest and most responsive bidder, meaning you can be low, but if you're not compliant with what is required in regard to our inclusion, you can be considered as being non-responsive, and then we will award to the next available low bidder. Formal construction for us is a little over $500,000, and that's where it goes into an even deeper process. Most of our delivery methods that we use in our formal construction arena is construction manager at risk. And throughout that process, we do our request for qualifications for our construction managers. We have mandatory pre-submittal meetings where they come in to get a better understanding of what we're looking for. Our staff participates in that process, lets them know what we're looking for in their submittal as far as their, we call our hub utilization plan, or the historic unutilized business plan, which speaks to their supplier diversity efforts they will employ on that particular job if they are awarded. And they have to spell out to us not only what their overall plan is, but provide a history of their past utilization. And we use that as a part of our evaluation tool on whether or not we would select that CM to be awarded a new project. We also ask, as at the time when they do their submittal, if they're going to be in association with or in a joint venture or any type of mentor or protege, or if they're using an outside sub-consultant to assist with their MWSPE outreach. Anyone they're going to use on the front end before we even get to the construction is a part of pre-con. They must include on their identification form, and they are included as a part of that team. When they come before us to do the interview process, part of the questions that I ask as I serve on our interview panel is to explain what they're going to do different to increase the utilization, or how they're going to use their consultant. If they're paired in a JV, they have to also submit their JV contract as a part of their submittal, so we get an understanding of exactly what that relationship is, what percent of the work is actually going to be done by that joint venture partner. Are there 50-50, 70-30, 25-80, 25-70, however it's set up, I need to see it to understand that that individual partner is actually a partner and it's not a pass-through or someone that has a limited role on that project. So the whole point of having that joint venture or that mentor protege program is to help develop that firm, or to allow that firm to even build their capacity. And I need to see it and know that's truly what's going on if we're going to allow our project to be used that way. Then once we get through everything, that's when we get down to the actual award, our team works with them when it comes time to developing their bid documents going forward on the pre-qualifications for those that will be bidding as a first tier. One of the reasons why we have chosen the construction manager at risk as our primary force for delivery on our formal projects, because it allows us to break the projects down into smaller packages so that our diverse suppliers can bid as a prime without having a multiplier on top of their number. And because our fee with our construction manager on the front end is a negotiated set fee, and it's outside of what comes in under those subs underneath them on that first tier. And then all of these requirements that we have on the CM also fall on that first tier to present who they're going to be contracting with on that job. And for us, we're not only looking for the actual contractors, but who are they buying their goods from, because that counts as part of their participation, which gives opportunity on both sides of the house. So we promote our goods suppliers who do material handling, what have you, to be included in that process, and then we track. Historically, we've had some of our diverse suppliers say, well, this doesn't apply to me because I'm a minority woman or small business. In our eyes, when you're bidding as a prime or a first tier, same rules apply, regardless if you're a diverse supplier or not. We're looking for everybody to utilize our diverse suppliers, period. We're looking for that same business-to-business relationship where we actually use one another throughout the process. For professional services, same thing as in our formal construction. We also are looking for our architects, engineers, surveyors, and commissioners to come to the table to have diverse sub-consultants underneath them as well. Very rarely, depending on what it is, will we see someone who comes in by themselves. Geotechnical, yes, I will see same thing in commissioning, but on the architect engineering side, there is not a school that will be designed in the formal range for us that does not have sub-consultants underneath them. Even if that large architectural firm has those in-house capabilities, he or she will be sub-consulting to ensure that we have utilization on that job. Our supplier diversity program, it has actually been around since 1993. And back in 2004, for those of us on the government side, we have to have a reason or rationale as to justify any goals that we place based on availability. So we did have a study that we conducted back in 2004. And from that, it allowed us to adopt a new policy, and it enhanced a lot of the features that I have been speaking of. Prior to 2005, we didn't have set rules in place that had at least one included in everything above $5,000. Being added into our procurement system, where we actually approve purchases above $5,000 was one of the enhancements that was added at that time. And then we put all requirements on the role of the school, the role of the department, the role of procurement, as well as our offices, but we were all responsible for it to ensure that we had that inclusion. So everything that we have done since then has allowed us to elevate and move our utilization well beyond where we were in the past. There's a variety of different, what we call our driving governance and policies that are in place that we have to comply with. I call these are the things that we have to do, but in many other steps that we've put in goes above and beyond the minimum things that we are required. But these are a snapshot of the various statutes that we have to follow. For our procurement through our, depending upon the funding source, if there's any federal dollars that are in place, there's some additional requirements that we have to do, and that's for anything that's above $10,000. But due to federal audit, it's more which program is more stringent or strict and when it comes to an inclusion. And so for us, because we're at the $5,000 level, our rules actually trump what the federals require because we're already doing what they were asking and then above that. So for us, our success is measured based on the type of outreach that we provide, the number of vendors we refer for certification, utilization, monitoring and reporting. We do provide training and technical assistance to our vendors and our workforce development. And that last piece for us is new, something that was added last year. I need to also note when we say monitoring and reporting, we're not just shuffling paper within our office. Our supplier diversity, especially on the construction side of the house, we're actually embedded within the team and how we have our projects divided up. He or she actually reviews the pay apps to ensure that who is listed at bid time is actually used. We track the payments to ensure folks are paid in a timely manner, because once we play that CM, they have 10 days to in turn turn around and pay their subcontractors below them. We act as advocates on behalf of in the event an issue comes up. No vendor can be removed from a job without coming through our office to ensure that all measures and things have been taken place to try to support those subcontractors to be successful on the job. At closeout, they're the ones who also review to ensure that everything that we said we were going to include in building that job was actually done, and then we followed it all the way throughout in that process before we actually close the job out. So it's not just about shuffling paper. The team actually gets to know all of the vendors directly. We know a lot of them, but they by name. If not by, for me, I'm not actually out on the individual projects, but I know them on the reporting side by name and getting to know exactly who they are, what their capabilities are. So when we make referrals, they are able to know the history of any vendor that's ever built one of our schools. We literally can tell you how many schools, dollar value, which CMs and construction companies they've worked under, and how they have performed. So we know exactly what the track records are when it comes to our suppliers. Under our workforce development plan, we were looking at more of a two-pronged approach, because we had a study that was conducted back in 2017 that spoke to the mobility of our residents on whether or not those who lived in poverty remained in poverty. So our team took a look back and said, okay, what can we do to disrupt that system? We looked at our future workforce. So for us, that means our students. And then we think of what can we do as regarding opportunities for the unemployed, underemployed, displaced, or underserved. So from that, we identified a way on how we could strengthen that workforce pipeline. We work with our CTE department, which is our Career and Technical Assistance programs, to see exactly what they provide to our students. And then we put in a system to actually monitor and see how we could do this. And be mindful, we are actually using our own construction projects to develop this plan. And all of our top tier construction managers actually helped us develop this. And they, as a team, we identified all of the various workforce development agencies in our city that provided actual skills training and employment services, those who had the pre-apprenticeship programs and any kind of journeyman programs, and which allowed us to develop our pool of candidates. So when we, our construction managers now, when they come before us to interview, not only do they speak to what their supplier diversity goals are and what they plan to do, but they also provide to us their workforce development plan on how they're going to leverage utilization and opportunities for our students to actually come on site to use as a teaching tool for job shadowing, summer internships, and or where they actually go to the schools into their classroom to speak about career opportunities once they either come out of high school, out of community college, and or out of our 4-year program. So this for us has been very exciting with the feedback we have received so far. And I'm looking forward to this summer, hopefully once we get past this virus that we're dealing with, that we will actually be able to have our students on site working throughout the summer. Within our CTE programs, we identified 19 different pathways that our students actually receive industry-recognized certifications, and some of them have post-secondary credits towards their degrees, and some of our students actually are able to begin their careers right out of high school. So there are 17 of our high schools that we are working with, and as you can see here, it's everything from architecture, carpentry, business management, electrical marketing. And it was more to emphasize to the students construction is more than just a hammer and a nail. There's also the business side of the industry, there's supply chain, there's those goods and services providers. There's a variety of different careers you can have as it relates to procurement and different companies within the construction industry as opportunities for our students to consider. For our industry partners, here's a list of those that have actually helped to develop our workforce development program. And it's a mix of our minority women and small business owners, along with our architectural firms and our large construction management companies around the state. Each one has been provided very valuable insight into developing our hiring goals per project, the minimum pay they will pay to our those that are in development through the journeyman programs, those that are coming in through our Goodwill and or through our other community partners like Charlotte Works or the Contract Association, or through the county, through the Urban League, through the Women Business Center. We are looking through our members who are actually part of the council who are providing goods and services, who may be willing to offer internships and or who are looking to hire individuals for their firms. And one of the things we also did was we looked at some of our community members who may have had past legal challenges, I will leave it that way, to ensure that their past records are not held against them, especially if he or she has fulfilled their obligations as far as their terms, they've gotten their life turned around, and are now looking for gainful, meaningful employment, and wanted to ensure that they had access to our opportunities as well. And so long as it's not a sexual offense and or certain other types of crimes, and depending on how long it's been since the offense, he or she can apply and work on our project. We have here particular roles and responsibilities that we all agreed to when we developed this plan in association with our supplier diversity program. And like all of this for us, we'll start once we get past this virus situation. We will have a career fair for all of those first tier contractors who need to hire going forward, and they will pull from our Goodwill, Urban League, Charlotte Works, and our other community partners to fulfill those roles. We've already identified those temporary staffing companies who also provide labor, and we've included a diverse firm as well as a non-minority firm to be able to assist with that process. So at the end of the day, so how are we actually performing? And we actually have goals that are set up, an MBE goal, WB and SBE goal, and an overall goal in these 4 particular categories. The last school year for us, this is actually on a down year for us because we're at the tail end. I'm just very honest, the more we build and the more we spend, the higher our utilization would go. When we're at a closeout year, where we're not turning over as much, our spend is not as high as it has been in the past. But our numbers are still strong as it relates to our overall spend. So for us last year, right at almost 18% of our eligible spend was spent with our diverse suppliers. This number has been as high as 28% of our eligible spend is spent with our diverse suppliers. We did exceed all of our aspirational goals as it relates to 3 out of the 4 categories. We exceeded and or achieved our MBE goal in 3 out of the 4 categories. Same for our women-owned firms. We did not exceed our goal for our small business owners, but we did increase our spend with our small business owners by an additional $1 million over the previous fiscal year in all 4 of the categories. Outreach, that's probably over 35 we average per year, and you can see here we do include our quarterly meetings and/or MBE summits and the BOC as part of our outreach efforts. And then we have a variety of community and engagement meetings that we do and different expos that we participate in across the state. We also host our own workshops throughout the year. And I will, here we partner with our other municipalities when we host these type of sessions to leverage across all platforms for the utilization of and the raising the awareness of our various programs. Each year we participate in what we call our Minority Enterprise Development Week, and we honor our diverse suppliers. Here are those who were recognized last year, the previous year for us in 17-18, and the proceeds from this honor that we do each year, we provide a scholarship for an MBE to attend the University Enrichment Program through the council from the money that is raised from this celebration. So now we're close to the end. It's looking at, so how do you become a vendor, be a valued vendor, be a part of our process? We use 2 different methods here. So a to-do list for all of you that are listening, for those who would like to become a vendor, you will need to register with the North Carolina Electronic Vendor Portal. And I did provide links in here for you to be able to access. And we post all of our formal bids through the North Carolina Interactive Purchasing System. This system also is a vast database for us that we are able to not only post our bids, but we, once you are a registered vendor, school systems statewide, municipalities statewide, as well as counties and state government agencies, all are tied to this system. So once you are registered as a vendor, you'll receive email notifications of those various opportunities based on the commodities that you identify as to when it's available and you're able to bid on those areas. In addition to that, they have the listing, and we're able to pull by specific jurisdictions, commodity. You can become identified as a hub vendor within the system. There's state actual term contracts that we can all procure from without having to go out to bid, because the state will have done the bidding for us. And we do have a number of our diverse suppliers who are on state contract, so we're able to piggyback off of those and just procure with those vendors for those particular needs. If it's a construction-related procurement, we'll need to have you complete a vendor profile, which also is available on our CMS website. That form is where you tell exactly which services you're able to provide. Our database has a little over 3,000 firms listed. It's one where we are able to do quick push notifications out of opportunities, and we do notifications not just for our CMS, but also for our other public partners around the state of what they have available. Initially, the database was just for our diverse suppliers, but many of our primes saw the value, of course, in being a part of that network, because they found out a lot about things ahead of time. They wanted to be included. So we're able to track all of those who are listed in our system, especially our diverse suppliers. It's no good to us just to have you listed. We want to know exactly how many are being successful and actually receiving awards. So we have a dashboard where we're able to see exactly how many are on active projects at any given time. And then the system also lets us know about certifications to know when they're about to expire. And we can send out email requests for updated certifications, so we're able to track. For our reporting, we're only able to report, of course, those who are certified to the state, but we also track those who are certified that are non-hub related to ensure that we're capturing everyone. So we have different reporting mechanisms that we use to capture our spend. This is one of those big takeaways for you to know exactly. It's who buys what? So I've listed here each one of our buyers' phone numbers as well as their email addresses and given you some of the big buckets of what they're responsible for. And then as a takeaway, you will be emailed or given access to the full list of what each person is responsible for, and you can find your area, and then they can share even more with you. And when they actually advertise at the state level, all of their contact information is included with each bid, and you will see as a part of that solicitation packet our MWSD requirements that are included in each procurement. They all know the rules. When they're not sure, they will email us asking for assistance of helping to identify other firms. So they are well aware of who we are, how we operate, and how we need to go forward together. For our supplier diversity contacts, here are the other members of our team. Jason and Skyne both handle more with the construction and architecture engineering and the maintenance side of the house. Stacy Moretti and myself, we do the goods and services side, but also support on the construction side. Pretty much all of us are cross-functional as a team. And when someone is out, any one of us can do the role of the other to ensure that nothing is missed and that our voice is always a part of the process. And so with that, I'm going to pause and turn this back over to Ms. Berry to open the floor for questions.
Yes, thank you, Shakitha. So anyone that has a question, please post it in the chat box. We're going to leave you on mute, but I will, and I've already gotten a couple of questions, so I'll be able to address that. But I want to thank you because, you know, in your presentation, Shakitha, you gave also a different viewpoint. That's why we talk about that secret sauce. So we're looking at how we can do business with you guys, but you've also provided an opportunity as to how we can also partner to build both workforces as well. So when you talked about the program for construction, my mind just started, okay, so if you are a business owner and you're in one of those non-traditional areas and you know that you need a specific type of talent for the future, the school systems is one of the partners you should be looking at and looking at some of the programs that are in place to see how do we go about doing these internships and things of that nature. So that was definitely something that you shared that I'm sure people might not have thought about as to how this could be a resource as well.
Oh, absolutely. Because like I said, I only listed up as in that first phase, those 17 career paths that our students have access to. What I'll also do after the call, I'll email you all of the various programs that we have at all of our high schools. So it's not just the construction side, but you can see what all of our students are doing. And many of them, like I said, they come out with all of the certifications that are required to go to work and or if they're going to a community college. So what better way to develop your future talent but to get in front of our students to talk about your firm, what the opportunities look like, and then be able to develop them on the front end so you have an employee ready to go right out of college and or junior college or right out of high school.
Right. Well, I know some of our MBEs, they're very much interested in the other side of the house, too, as to how to do business. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Shakitha, is you talked about your prime and how you introduce your prime. Do you have a Tier 2 program, or how do you address the Tier 2 opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. We have the prime, and then, like I said, the requirements that we have on our Tier 2 are the same as the requirements we put on our prime. So we track our spend on both ways. So we're looking for that same opportunities, which was at the top at all levels. So even if you're a third-tier supplier to one of our second tiers, what are you doing to have inclusion as a part of?
Okay, so are you requiring any of your primes to have a supplier diversity program as well?
If it's on the construction side of the house, every last one of them has the construction managers have to submit their plans to us to review to make sure it's in compliance with what we're asking for. On the goods side of the house, most of them it's the actual company, and they're buying from a manufacturer, but we will track that spend as well. That one's a little more tricky, especially if we have spec'd out the particular manufacturer that we want you to use for the type of goods that we need, because we are unique in what we buy in some aspects. But no, we do track, and we ask for the report out of that spend, even to the point with our actual P-card vendor that we use. They report out to us and track our spend, and we see any opportunities there to capture that utilization as well.
So let me ask you this. So this is bringing to mind another aspect of that. Is there any particular area, product, or service where you have a need for more diverse suppliers?
For us, when I think about the big buckets of items that we buy, of course, when it comes to our textbooks, that's a large one for us. I am pleased to say on the IT side of the house, for the various softwares that we use, we actually already using one of our national NMSDC firms does a lot of work for us. When it comes to the services side of the house, it just depends. There are certain consultants that's more particular to our industry that there's a need for when it comes to curriculum design, being able to offer different strategies in that area. If it's on the construction side of the house, when it comes to suppliers, huge need for some more diverse electrical, plumbing, any type of material supplier as relates to what it takes to build a project. Would love to deepen that bench of available suppliers when I don't have like one or two in that lane that dependency concerns us. So we're looking to diversify that as well. On the automotive side, need more suppliers as relates to actually who we buy our cars from. And our fleet services, where that comes from. Our same thing with any part that goes into the repair of a vehicle and or a bus or one of our trucks. We'll have to see some more diverse suppliers in some of those lanes. Office suppliers, we have plenty. When it comes to temporary labor suppliers, we have 12 different firms that we contract with now. I can tell you 6 of them are diverse suppliers. Of those 6, 3 of them are certified through the Carolina Council. We have other special needs as relates to our children with disabilities. That's a unique niche for us. That's the type of services that we have to provide, and it supports on the medical side, as well as the apparatus and the different type of tools we use to support them in our schools. So those are a little more niche areas that we have a high need for.
Okay, wonderful. There's definitely some new things that I haven't heard of. So thanks for sharing that. So now we've talked about all the opportunities. There's a question out there wanting to know about janitorial or cleaning services. Is that another need that you may have?
I will tell you that it's a competitive area. If you're looking to, as far as the cleaning of our actual schools, that is done in-house. We have our own custodial services department that employs a little over 1,200 people. However, we do supplement them during the summer when it comes to turning over our schools and getting them ready from the new school year. Those are service contracts for us that we put out and we do requests for folks to respond to. That comes through our department to assist. We do have some of our CVMSDC certified firms providing those folks now. That doesn't mean we can't have more in the process. So that opportunity is there. On the construction side of the house, every last one of our construction projects has a cleaning component to it. That includes cleaning as the project is being built, as well as the final cleaning. We also, as the school district, buy custodial supplies. So if you're a supplier, there's opportunity for you there. We can buy either off a state contract and or we can solicit quotes for those various products.
Excellent. So I have another question for you. Can you share a little bit about your payment terms?
We have, if it's a direct with CMS, it's a net 30. What we have done with our, back in 2005, when we did our enhancement of our program, we had some considerations put in place for having payment terms that could turn around faster than a net 30. Some are within 2 weeks, but all of this has to be set up on the front end when we set up our contracts to make that happen. If not, it's a net 30 when it's a direct pay. On our construction jobs, it's more of a pay as you go. The CMs submit their pay applications every month, and then we turn them around and get them processed. And within 10 days of that submittal, provided everything is submitted correctly, they receive their payments, and therefore they can then turn around and pay their subcontractors. If it's a soft dollar amount, like I said, we have the P card for that. Everything is done by check. I'll tell you that now. We will not do work without a PO. Our department, especially my diverse supplies, I'm very sensitive about the turnaround for pay, so we will work with our accounts PO department to say, okay, these are the ones I need to have pushed out faster and not hold for those 30 days. Especially like some of our grounds contractors who actually maintains our sites, they cut every 10 days, and they receive their payments a lot faster than that net 30.
Understand. Well, thank you, Shakitha. You have provided a wealth of knowledge and information, and looking at a, not so traditional, I guess you can say, because it's not an actual corporation, but you have definitely provided some insight on how to do business on a state and local standpoint from a school district. So there are plenty of opportunities. So I'm sure all of the MBEs who are listening and who are considering how they can diversify in different markets, this is definitely one they need to be looking at. So we appreciate you participating in the Straight Talk. And now we're going to bring on Dominique, who also wants to speak and share some insight as well. And thank you, Shakitha.
You're welcome.
Dominique. Okay, we're going to give her a little bit of time to unmute here. Let's see here if we can go ahead and unmute her.
I was just talking. Am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you so much, Lasagna. As President and CEO of CVMSDC, I just want to thank all who are in attendance today for the Straight Talk series. One of our goals, our main goal, is to connect minority business enterprises with corporate opportunities. And so we are so appreciative to have Ms. Shakitha Lloyd from CMS with us today. Your program is so well-rounded, Shakitha, and you've taken into account the next generation of our work, our students, with your workforce program, as well as you're getting serious results with your program. So for the MBEs that are listening, if you're looking to do business with CMS, the school district, they have proven results already, as well as new opportunities available. What you've heard today can be echoed, I do believe, in several other school districts that we have. We have the Wake County School District, we have the Charleston County School District on board, and the results that I've heard from them are very similar to what Ms. Shakitha has shared today. So, I always say you have to be at the table to engage in the opportunities, and today you've learned how to engage with CMS. So I'm very thankful for the time that you've spent today with us. Lasagna, I'm very thankful for you putting together this series of talks. And I hope that in each talk we gain participation from our MBE audience to learn more about how to do business with our corporate partners. So thank you all. And in light of what's going on with the COVID virus, we're going to be using a lot more of this type of technology. So plan to tune in. And thank you so much, Lasagna.
Thank you, everyone, and stay tuned for our next Straight Talk that will be happening in about 2 weeks. Everyone have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Shakitha.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.